Hello, we resume here Gair and Karunatillake, lesson 2, part 2, and it's reading number 2 starting on page 14. At first sight it might look like a disconcertingly large block of text to take in, but it involves a certain amount of repetition, kind of harmonious, systematic repetition as it goes through, so hopefully it won't be too much to take in all at one go. I'll read through the first paragraph and then explain it. Tihi bhikkave angehi samannagato papaniko abhabbo anadhigatam va bhogam adhigantum adhigatam va bhogam patinkatum katamehi tihi idha bhikkave papaniko pubarnha samayam nasakacham kammantamadhithati majhanhika samayam nasakacham kammantam adhithati sayanha samayam nasakacham kammantam adhithati imihiku bhikkave tihi angehi samannagato papaniko abhabbo anadhigatam va bhogam adhigantum adhigatam va bhogam patim katum. The subject of this sentence is papaniko, which means a merchant. And it is saying that the merchant is incapable of doing something. The root, very common root, bhu, means to be, and the future passive participle, we'll come to that in detail quite soon, in Sanskrit is bhavya, and in Pali, by standard phonetic variation, the vya becomes the verb, so it's bhabba. Literally, it might be translated by our impossible word beable, but in fact it has the meaning of capable. And incapable, he can't do it, just put the negating a in front. So abhabba. So the papaniko is abhabbo, is incapable, he can't do it. It's unbeable, he is unbeable to do it. And that's followed by an infinitive ending in tum. Those of you who know Latin will see that it's the same as the Latin supine ending in tum. So, from the root gum, we add tum, meaning to go. If I can't go, abhabbo gantum, I am unbeable to go. I'm incapable of going. Abhabbo gantum. Of course, the M becomes an N following the T. The adhigantum, the prefix adhi means on top of, over it. So if you adhigantum, to overgo, it just means to obtain or get, achieve or gain. Adhigantum, so adhigantum. So the merchant, the papaniko, is habbo, incapable of adhigantum, of getting or obtaining. How's it translated here? You're finding, acquiring, attaining. Anadhigatam bhogam. Now, the adhigantum is the infinitive, adhigam the root, or the root plus prefix. And as we know, from the root gam, we have the past participle gata, than tathagata and gate parangate. So the past participle of adhigam is adhigata, that is obtained, acquired, earned. And bhoga generally means enjoyment, but can also mean wealth or possessions or riches. And it's translated here as wealth, possession, item for enjoyment. Yeah. So an adhigato bhogo is an unattained item, unattained wealth, wealth that you have not yet attained. So that was anadhigato bhogo. Adhigato bhogo, the wealth that you have attained. Anadhigato bhogo, the non-overgone, non-attained wealth. So the papaniko is abhabbo adhigantum, is incapable of obtaining anadhigatam bhogam, the unattained, the not yet attained wealth. The va meaning either or, the va occurs twice. So anadhigatam va bhogam adhigantum, adhigatam va bhogam patinkatum. So he is incapable, anadhigatam va bhogam adhigantum, either of obtaining the unobtained or not yet obtained wealth. And the second va means or patinkatum, increasing the adhigatam bhogam, the acquired, that meaning already acquired wealth. The word pati is not a very common word. It's actually, I don't know whether it's cognate with the English word fat, but the original meaning, it's from the Sanskrit roots pi, that becomes pati. It actually means, the original meaning is fattening, as in fattening up an animal. So then in a figurative sense, if you can increase your wealth by investment or by trading, you are, as they put it, you're fattening your wealth. That is patinkatum. Katum is the infinitive. We have our Sanskrit root kri, which makes the infinitive to make, which normally that would become katum with a double T in Pali, but in this particular case, it just becomes katum. So to make a fattening, patinkatum, means to enhance your wealth. And the tihi angehi, that is the instrumental plural. Anga means a factor. The original meaning actually is a limb, and then factor, and there's a component, constituent part, limb, member. Yeah. So by three, it's in instrumental plural. Instantly, the numbers as well as nouns, numerals, also decline. So this is the instrumental plural. Tini angehi, by three factors. Here, the instrumental by reason of three factors. We could transpose into English saying, there are three things that have this result. So tini and pikave, O monks, by three, O monks, factors. So O monks, by three factors. Papaniko, samanagato papaniko, samanagato, attended. It's often translated as if you got them, if you possess them. So the papaniko, the merchant, who is samanagato, who is endowed with, possessed of, three factors. Let me explain the word samanagato. You will very often find this in the Buddhist literature. If somebody has a particular characteristic, you'll say he is samanagata by that characteristic. And the word, and it's worth looking carefully at this explanation, you'll see it again and again. The gum, which we just had, is to go. Anugam, sorry, gum to go. Anugam is to follow. The prefix, the verbal prefix anu, having the meaning, like the Greek ana, having the meaning of along with, in accordance with. The idea of one thing flowing along with something else. We have agam, to come. Agachati, he comes. Agam. Now the word, you can put an anu before a gam, meaning to follow. You can also put the anu before the agam, which has roughly the same kind of meaning, but more a meaning of to be in attendance on. So it happens in Sanskrit. You get the anu agam by the normal rules of sandhi. That's the merging of the final letter of one word or element with the beginning of another. The u becomes a v before an a, so that it becomes boom. So anvagam. And in Pali, that becomes, the NV becomes a double N, so anagam. Anagam. If you put the sum in front of it, the sum, which generally means with, and is cognate with the Latin con and the Greek, sin, as in syndrome, synergy, the idea of with. But the sum also has the meaning of the achieving of something, the perfecting of something, or the completion of a round, or not just following along, but following along and somehow completing the following along. So, with the sum root, the idea is to follow and then to be permanently in attendance on. You followed and surrounded, you followed and you're permanently with it. So samanagam, almost always now used in the past participle sense form. Samanagata means attended by, as in a ruler might be attended by his retinue. So equally, a person might be attended by certain qualities, or he might be samanagato, he might be attended by certain results of his actions. So the imagery here is that you have a retinue of followers, but equally you have a retinue of certain outcomes or characteristics that will be with you and follow you permanently in attendance as a result of your own actions. So it's so often used in a karmic sense that if you have behaved in a certain way, then you will be samanagata, attended by whatever characteristic is being spoken of. So, and that's put in the instrumental. So, samanagato tini angehi, attended by three factors. In other words, if there are these three things that attend him in the sense that he constantly does them, it's his habit, his besetting habit. By those three factors, the following result will occur. So, tini bhikkhave angehi samanagato papaniko. So, O monks, bhikkhave, papaniko, a merchant, samanagato, attended by was attended tiniangehi, instrumental plural, by three factors. Abhabo is incapable. And the va repeat means either or. So either va anadhigatam bhogam adhigantum, incapable of attaining anadhigatam bhogam, the unattained wealth or profit. Adhigatam va bhogam patinkatum, or patinkatum, the katum relates back to the abhabo katum, incapable of making. So abhabo patinkatum, incapable of making fat, fattening, adhigatam bhogam, the already achieved wealth. Katamehitihi. Katama means which, normally followed by a noun. It's an interrogative which, like, well, by three factors, what three? And again in the instrumental plural, because it relates back to samanagato, attended by katamehitihi, by what three? Idha bhikkhave. Idha, the normal meaning of idha is here. If you look back to the last verse we look at in the Dhammapada, just a few lines up from where you're looking now, where it says nahi verena verani sammantidha kudachanam, that is sammanti idha. And I explain that idha means here, and in this context it means here in this world, in human life, in our lived experience. Here, idha, sorry, when I'm saying here in this place we're looking at, I could, if I was speaking Pali, I'd have said idha. So idha is often a way of introducing a sentence, meaning, almost like, look here, or in this respect, on this topic. So idha bhikkhave, here amongst Papaniko, the merchant, na pubarna samayam na sakacham kamantam aditati. So na does not, aditati does not attend to. Now, we have just seen gum to go and adhigam, as in his adhigato bhogo, adhigam, to overgo, to go over something, is the imagery for obtaining it. Here we've got adhitati. It's from the root sta, and with the, in Sanskrit it's the same, adhishta, sorry, it's a dot there. In Pali it becomes adhitta. So it's the root sta to stand with the verbal prefix adhi. So the essential meaning is to stand over, and it means to attend to it, give your attention to it, be in charge of it, get on with it, do it. How does he put it? Yeah, attends to is what's given it. It has a wider meaning than just attends to. But he stands over it. Adhita, stands over, gives it his attention. That's where he puts his energy. Adhitati, just the third person ending T, he does something. So na adhitati, he does not attend. And here it's attending to his business. So papaniko, na adhitati, does not attend, kammantam, to his business, to his affairs. And we've got two adverbs here. One is an adverb of time, is pubrana samayam, which is in the morning. Let's just look at kammantam. if you look at the Eightfold Noble Path, right action is samma kammanta, and that is the same word as here. An explanation of that word we know all too well, karma, and it's in Pali, kamma. If you add the word anta to it, of course, in Sanskrit they coalesce to an a. In Pali, the a of anta drops out, so it's just kammanta. So kamma, activity, work, you're doing. Anta, the end. Here the end in the sense of the goal, what you're aiming for. So it's often translated as just goal, right action. But it has here, often it just does mean action. It has the slight subtext here. Because of the anta, it's action goal. It suggests action done with the purpose of achieving something, mentally directed action. Exactly the type that you'd expect of a Paparnikur, a merchant or a trader. So he does kammantam adittati. He attends to his business. The word pubbranhasamayam, you'll often see these three going together. We've got pubbranhasamayam, majhanhika samayam, and sayanha samayam, respectively, meaning morning, midday, and evening. The breakdown of the word, Sanskrit purva, cognate with foregoing, previous, very beginning of the Dhammapada, mano pubbangama dhamma, foregone, meaning preceded by. Purva, Pali, pubba, aham, in Sanskrit, day, and you can have it on its own, purvanham, but they've added on slightly pleonastically here, samayam, meaning time. So just as in English you say in the morning, or you could say unnecessarily in the morning time, it's a pleonasm, but it can be said in the morning time, in the evening time. So the pubba, and the pubbahna becomes pubbahna, samayam. So just as we can talk about the forenoon, the period just before the noon, in Sanskrit and Pali you can talk of the pubbanha, which is the fore day, the earlier part of the day. So it's our morning. So pubbanha samayam, 4-day time, just means in the morning time. Midday, majhanhika samaya. So Majha, we know from Middle as in the Majjhima Nikaya, the middle length saying, Majha or Majjhima is cognate with the Latin and then to English, medium, middle. So Majjanhika Samayam, the midday time, Majjanhika Samayam, midday time. And in the evening, Sayo means an ending. So sayanha, the ending of the day, sayanha samayam, at the ending of the day. So at evening time. So this merchant, this Paparnikur, Na aditati kammantam, does not attend to his business. Pubarna samayam, Madhyanika samayam, and Sayan has some samayam. He does not attend to his business at any of those times. Finally, sakacham is an absolutive meaning having done. It's also adjectively doing. So Sanskrit root krit, to do. Kritya, having done. There's more to it, but we'll explain in another lesson. And sat is that prefix meaning good or correctly. Among the Hindus, you talk about the Sadguru. We have seen in lesson 1 the Saddhamma, the good law or the true law. So if it would Satkritya, which in Satkritya in Sanskrit, and then Sakatcha, it means good doing, just means doing it properly. So Sakatcha, sometimes with an M as it has here, Sakatcha, Sakatcham, just means correctly doing, right doing. In other words, he doesn't attend to it properly. He doesn't get on with his business properly. He doesn't attend properly to his business, is what it means here. So, nasakacham kammantam adhitati, not properly he attends to his business, so he doesn't attend to his business properly. Now go to the second sentence there, beginning 2 lines up in this paragraph. Imehi ko bhikkhave tihi angehi samannagato aparneko abhabbo anadhigatam va bhogam adhigantum va bhogam patingatum. That is just effectively a repeat in shorter words of what was said before. The particle ko, as in imehi ko, is translated as an emphatic particle, yeah. So it's rather like saying, by these 3 factors, such and such will happen. But you can emphasize by it is by these 3 factors. That's roughly the force of ko here. It doesn't actually change the meaning. It just changes the tone somewhat. By these 3 factors, such and such will happen. It is by these 3 factors that such and such will happen. Slightly more emphatic in English. That's the effect of the ko here. So I will read this paragraph through slowly. Try to follow as I go along. Tihi bhikkhave angehi samannagato papaneko abhabbo anadhigatam va bhogam adhigantum va bhogam patim katum katamehi tihi idha bhikkhave papaneko pubarna samayan nasakacham kammantam adhitati Madhyanika samayan nasakacham kammantam adhitati Sayan samayan nasakacham kammantam adhitati Imehi kubhikkhave tihi angehi samanagato papaniko abhabbo anadhigatam va bhogam adhigantum va bhogam patingatum. The remaining 3 paragraphs we should be able to take quite quickly because they are modelled exactly on the first paragraph, just with the vocabulary changed. So having given the imagery of how a merchant might, or shopkeeper, papaniko, or any person carrying on a business might fail to acquire profit or might fail to grow patinkatum, to grow his existing wealth, his existing assets, This now is transposed, that analogy simile is transposed to the activity of the monk. So, evameva ko bhikkhave, I'll read it right through and then analyze it for you. Evameva ko bhikkhave tihi dhammehi samanagato bhikkhu abhabbo anadhigatam va kusalam dhammam adhigantum adhigatam va kusalam dhammam patinkatum katamehi tihi idha bhikkhave bhikkhu pubarna samayan nasakacham samadhi nimittam adhittati majhanika samayan nasakacham samadhi nimittam adhittati sayana samayam nasakacham samadhi nimittam adhittati imehi ko bhikkhave tini dhammehi samanagato bhikkhu abhabbo anadhigatam va kusalam dhammam adhigantum adhigatam va kusalam dhammam patim gatum. Evam, the very first word in this pair, evam just means thus, in that way. And we see it in the phrase evam maya suttam, the opening of many of the suttas. Evam, thus, maya, by me, heard, thus by me heard, translated into English as thus have I heard. Here we have the emphatic particle eva followed by the other emphatic particle ko. So just as evam means thus in this way, evam eva ko means in exactly the same way. You're not just saying the same way, but you're emphasizing in exactly the same way. Evam eva ko bhikkhave, in exactly the same way amongst. The bhikkhu samanagato tini dhammehi, who is attended by, or who habitually engages in, but let's stick to the meaning of samanagato, who is attended by 3 dhammehi. Here it just means characteristics. Abhabbo is incapable either of adhigantum, anadhigatam kusalam dhammam, of achieving an unachieved, anadhigatam kusalam dhammam, wholesome state. Again, we've got this rather fluid meaning of dhamma here. We're just going to interpret it according to the meaning. So that he is abhabbo, incapable of achieving an unachieved wholesome state, condition. Adhigatam va kusalam dhammam patinkatum. Or the va, either or, kusalam dhammam patinkatum, of fattening or enhancing, increasing the adhigatam, the achieved, that is already attained, already achieved, kusalam dhammam, in the accusative, of course, object of patim katum. So that's the wholesome state. Katamehitihi, as before, by what 3? Idha bhikkhave bhikkhu pubarna samayam nasakacham samadhi nimittam adhittati. So rather than like the merchant attending to his business, here, pubarna samayam, in the morning, na adhittati, he does not attend to, nasakacham, he does not carefully or properly attend to, the samadhi nimittam, the samadhi, you will know, I presume, nimittam, the nimitta, it's a word you'll be familiar with if you've done the samatha meditation. It's going back to its original meaning. It just means a target or an object or a sign or a mark, like a mark, and often translated in this context as the object of meditation. If you're doing a meditation on a specific object or thing, that's your samadhi nimitta, your meditation object. And again, as before, majhanika samayam, in the noon, the midday time. Nasakacham samadhi nimittam adiktati. He does not properly attend to his samadhi nimitta. Sayana samayam. And in the evening time, nasakacham samadhi nimittam adiktati. He does not sakacham properly adiktati attend to samadhi nimittam, his samadhi, his object of meditation. And as before, the final sentence summarizes it more briefly. Imehi ko bhikkhave tini dhammehi. It is by these three characteristics, or behaviors even, it is by these three behaviors, or samanagato bhikkhu, a bhikkhu who is samanagato, a bhikkhu who is attended by these three behaviors. Abhabbo is incapable, anatigatam vakuslantamam atigantum, of attaining the unobtained wholesome dhamma, or, second va, or patim gatum, or expanding, enhancing, growing, literally fattening, the adigatam kuslam dhammam, the kuslam dhammam, the wholesome dhamma, wholesome state, adigatam, achieved, already achieved. Now, the great advantage that you have here, in the way that the selection has been made by the authors of this book, is that you already now have everything you need to understand the next two paragraphs, which is simply the same thing put the other way around. What happens to the merchant if he does properly attend to his business, and what happens to the bhikkhu if he does sakacham adittati, if he does properly attend to his samadhi nimittam, to his object of meditation. So I'll read through this first paragraph, and hopefully now you'll be able to understand it all as I go along. I'll do my best to read it slowly and clearly. Tihi bhikkhave angehi samannagato papaniko bhabbo anadhigatam va bhogam adhigantum adhigatam va bhogam patinkatum katamehi tihi idha bhikkhave papaniko pubannasamayam sakacham kammantam adittati majhanhika samayam. Now you see the pe here. I'll come back to that in a moment. And then sayana samayam sakacham kammantam adittati. Imehi ko bhikkhave tihi angehi samannagato papaniko bhabbo anadhigatam va bhogam adhigantum adhigatam va bhogam patinkatum. Look at this pe, which is written here in the text as a pe followed by the three dots. The word pe is actually the short for peyala, which is from the Sanskrit paryaya, which literally means going around, paryaya, going around something, or going over it again if you're talking about a text. And in the written texts, it's often used, it's put normally in translation just with a dot, 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 meaning a standard form of words is repeated here. For the sake of brevity, we are not printing them all. So the pe stands for sakacham kammantam adittati. They're left out just to avoid the repetition. Where it's only repeated twice, as here, it doesn't serve much of a purpose, but in many suttas, you might have a large number, even 10, 15, 20 of these repeated phrases. So basically to save the trouble of the scribe who's having to write it down, and to save time and manuscript paper, which is more valuable in those days, you just put pe. However, when the monks are reciting the sutta, they never say pe, they recite it in full. This is purely used in writing to save words and paper and time, never in recitation, if it's being done properly. So hopefully you won't need an explanation of this paragraph, because it's virtually the exact same wording of the first paragraph, except that the negatives are reversed. If the merchant does not attend to his business, then he will be incapable of obtaining unobtained wealth or of growing his already obtained wealth. Here it's saying it the other way around. If the merchant is tihiangehi samanagato, attended by these three behaviors or characteristics or factors, then if he does properly attend to his business morning, noon, and evening, then he will grow his wealth. And the fourth paragraph gives us then exactly the same as the second paragraph, but relating to the monk, but with the negatives reversed. What was negative is stated as a positive, and vice versa. I will read it to you slowly. Evameva ko bhikkhave tihi dhammehi samanagato bhikkhu bhabbo anadhigatam va kuslan dhammam adhigantum va kuslan dhammam pating katum katamehi tihi bhikkhave bhikkhu pubanna samayam sakacham samadhi nimittam aditthati Majhanika samayam sakacham samadhi nimittam aditthati Sayanha samayam sakacham samadhi nimittam aditthati Imehi ko bhikkhave tihi dhammehi samanagato bhikkhu bhabbo anadhigatam va kuslan dhammam adhigatum va kuslan dhammam pating katunti. Now notice that this phrase, sakacham samadhi nimittam aditthati, what would have been the second occurrence of it, which in the paragraph we're looking at is 2 lines down on page 15. This pe, short for peyala, they only do that for instead of the intervening ones. The first occurrence of it is given in full, and the last occurrence is given in full. If there are only 3 occurrences, then you'll only see the one pe, meaning, okay, repeat that bit. If there were 20 occurrences of it, you'd see by analogy the same would happen. The first would be given in full, the last, the 20th of it, would be given in full, but you would see pe 18 times in the middle. Similarly, if there were 5 occurrences, you'd see pe for the first and the fifth. You'd see the full text for the first and the fifth, but replaced by pe, peyala, for the intermediate second, third, and fourth. Right, that's all on this clip. We will resume shortly at reading number 3 on page 15.